So they're all good friends, or are they? Let's go straight to Canberra, and our political reporter Matt Doran joins us now from Parliament House. Matt, good morning. We'll get to Tony Abbott's comments overnight in just a moment. But as it stands, what does the government need in order to get this double dissolution?
Well, they do need 6 of the 8 crossbench senators to throw their support behind this legislation, as you mentioned, and thus far they only have the support of one, the South Australian Family First Senator Bob Day, who says that he understands the serious nature and the significance of this legislation, having come from the building industry before he entered Parliament, and therefore he will maintain his position and support the legislation going forward. The other senators, we have heard various things from them. Some who have in the past been supportive of this legislation are now pulling back from it slightly, saying that they do want to try and push for some amendments, some negotiation, and the Employment Minister Michaelia Cash has said that she is open to negotiation in good faith. However, she won't be accepting amendments just for the sake of it. Now, the Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull was on the ABC 7:30 program last night. He was questioned as to whether or not it was a wise decision to be sending or threatening to send the nation to a poll over one body which many people may not have even heard of before, the Australian Building and Construction Commission. He denied that and said that it was merely a way of settling a constitutional deadlock.
The reason you have the double dissolution mechanism is because in the Parliament, in our Parliament, we have a House of Reps and a Senate, and they have pretty much equal power. So when they can't agree, when they persistently can't agree, there has to be a mechanism for breaking that deadlock. And so what happens is the bills on which they persistently can't agree on are the trigger for a double dissolution election. And after the election, we come back and vote in a joint sitting on those bills. Otherwise, you'd never be able to resolve deadlocks.
That's how the Prime Minister speaking on 7:30 last night. Now, whether a DD election annoys the electorate or not is yet to be seen. But just where do we stand then in relation to those crossbenchers? What are they saying, and how likely are any of them to be persuaded out of the position they hold now?
Well, I think it was best summed up by the South Australian Independent Senator Nick Xenophon, who said yesterday that if you thought last week's Senate shenanigans were ugly, you ain't seen nothing yet. And when the Senate is returned on the 18th of April, it has 3 weeks in which to debate this legislation before an earlier budget on May 3 to try and come to some resolution here. But it really is going to be an interesting thing to watch as to whether or not any of these crossbench senators can be persuaded to shift their support in favour of the legislation. Many of them are facing losing time on their electoral tenure if we do go to a double dissolution election and they aren't returned. And some of them, you could say that self-preservation could come into it, and they might see the light and support Malcolm Turnbull's legislation. But one senator who has said vehemently that she remains opposed to the bill is the independent Tasmanian Senator Jackie Lambie. She was quite not backwards in coming forward on her point of view last night on the ABC's Q&A program.
To be quite honest like that, I will not be blackmailed. I will not have a gun held to my head. This is not the way to play politics. And as for my seat, well, that is up to the people of Tasmania. Now, if they don't want me up here keeping the bastards honest, then they'll get rid of me. If that's what they want from me, then I'll be safe.
Jackie Lambie there. Good to talk to you, Matthew. We'll check in with you later in the program. Thanks so much.